Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the first 3 episodes of season 4 of the Amazon Prime series, The Boys. If you're a fan of the Watchers, which we hope you are, it's one of our favorite shows, and so we love talking about this show. But yeah, once again, they dropped the first 3 episodes of the season, which is crushing for me. It's like, just give us one episode at a time. You know what? Honestly, this is a call out to Amazon. Just believe in your content. Conversely, the same week this show came back was the same week that House of the Dragon came back. HBO would never drop 3 episodes. They would just go, they're gonna give you one once a week. They're gonna dole it out over 8 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever. And I wish Amazon would follow that plan, but they apparently love to torture us by dropping 3 episodes that are just chock full of stuff to talk about. We're gonna try to hit as much stuff as possible. Brittany, let's start off, but just get your overall thoughts on the first 3 episodes.
Sidebar, I will say that even if HBO did drop the first 3 episodes of any of their, hit series, we would still watch it. Let's just be real. We would binge.
No, we would still watch it, but
it does make it more difficult to do these review pods. Yes, I totally agree.
But it's also not good for their business. Why would they want to cut their you can have a show that's a water cooler kind of, viral show that people talk about for 8 weeks, or you can do it for 5 or 6 weeks. I just don't understand the math in that. Why wouldn't you want more bang for your buck? That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't really matter for The Boys because after this season, there's just one more, and that's it. That's it for The Boys. So yeah, it was announced right before season 4 premiered that, or maybe around the same time, that we're only getting one more season of The Boys, and curtain drops. That's it. Probably can talk about that a little bit later, Justin, but let's dive right into the first 3 episodes of season 4. Jam-packed, as you said, wild. For me, I love the show. I love the fact that you put us onto this show all those years ago, and it's been, I think, a cult favorite at this point. However, the first 3 episodes for this season haven't been as wowing as previous seasons. And I think it's really hard to top just a lot of things. I mean, honestly, how do you top a soup who can, shrink himself to enter the opening of a man's pee-pee? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How do you top that? I mean, they made a giant, yeah, we don't need to go into that. I don't know how you really can top that. We even got some major wow factors, of course, even with Gen V. So for me personally, I love The Boys. I love the performances. I think they, Antony Starr is the only person that can ever play Homelander. But for me personally, this season hasn't really wowed me just yet. I haven't gotten hit with that wow factor just yet. Surprising moments, don't get me wrong. It's bloody. You will for sure not see a few things coming your way, but I'm still kind of anticipating this big wow factor, and for the first 3 episodes just hasn't done it for me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I do think that probably season 3 was kind of like the apex of the show, the peak. If you think about how great season 3 was, I don't know if they could ever top season 3. And I think that you mentioned earlier that they announced season 5 will be the final season. And I think initially we were kind of bummed out, but I think now looking at it, I think that's good that we know when the end point is, because we need to kind of get a resolution with this Butcher Homeland storyline, because it's been going on for a while. And there's still, don't get me wrong. I love the show. It's still a great show. It's very entertaining. The way they can add new characters almost kind of seamlessly, and they immediately feel like part of the world. And they're usually people I've never seen in other shows. And these people are great. We're going to talk about the new characters in a little bit, but the show is still functioning on a very high level. As high as ever. Yeah. I just think that season 3 had so much stuff going for it. And so much stuff. Eventually we're going to have to resolve this thing between Butcher and Homelander. Yeah. And, I think, you can't keep stringing that along
Yeah.
You've got to find a way to get to that. And I feel like that's probably like there's a little bit of fatigue in that storyline for me. While those are like obviously the two main characters, and they're both actors are great, and I'm not bored by the story by any means, but I think we do need to get to kind of like what's the end game for this storyline. And I'm glad they're gonna wrap it up after season 5, honestly.
This honestly seems to be like the MO of Eric Kripke, who is the creator and showrunner, right? It seems 5 seasons of anything he really does is kind of that sweet spot, right? And I only say this because I just recently finished watching all 15 seasons of Supernatural, to which Eric Kripke was a part of from seasons 1 through technically season 6, but most definitely active and all with seasons 1 through 5.
Mhm.
And it seemed like the season 5 finale of Supernatural was going to be maybe the series finale, but no, cliffhanger, y'all. And then we get season 6, and then, so many more that came thereafter. So for me, I personally think that was probably maybe always Eric Kripke's duration. Like, that's how long he was just going to say, 5 seasons. If someone else wanted to carry it onward, Seth Rogen, whomever, they wanted to bring in another showrunner, great. But I think for Kripke, for him, it's 5 seasons of something is enough for him. And then also the events that occurred with Gen V. Gen V lost Chance Perdomo tragically, and those series were going to kind of bounce off each other in terms of storylines and what have you. So I'm sure there's a lot of factors, but I kind of want to believe that maybe because of Chance and what they were going to do with Gen V, it's going to be partly the reason why the boys will also end. But I agree with you. We've got to wrap up this whole storyline between Butcher and Homelander. We can't keep dragging it out. However, what we are seeing between Homelander and Butcher is just great stuff. It's amazing stuff, and I'm still here for it regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm too. I absolutely am too. Um, you mentioned Eric Kripke and like you mentioned Supernatural. Let's start off. Let's talk about some of the new characters this season. And one of the new characters we meet is Joe Kessler, played by
Hmm.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Hmm.
And if you could kind of explain to people who he was in Supernatural, and what do you think of this Joe Kessler character so far? And do you think Joe Kessler is a real character? I will, you might be
Yep.
able to take that from me and run with it, but if not, I've got some thoughts. So
Yeah, no, I definitely have thoughts. I think we're
yeah.
about even. Maybe you might know a little bit more than I do, just because.
I just have a
And
hunch. Like, yeah.
I agree. I do too, given the things that we're witnessing with Butcher and whatever he's going through mentally as well as physically. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character in Supernatural was that of John Winchester, who is the father of the Winchester brothers, who go and hunt monsters all throughout the United States. And he has trained them to be monster hunters and killers. And I won't go into too much about Supernatural, because if you're anything like me and you jumped on the bandwagon way late in life, I don't want to spoil it for y'all. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan, of course, is someone that has worked with Eric Kripke in the past, and so I love that Eric Kripke has built these bonds with actors, and they always want to work on projects with him. There's even rumors that maybe for next season, the final season, that Jared Padalecki might make a cameo in one fashion or another. So I think it's just cool because we obviously did get Jensen Ackles in season 3 as Soldier Boy. So I think it's fun. I think it's fun now because now I'm a Supernatural fan. Anyway, so Jeffrey Dean Morgan in The Boys plays Joe Kessler. John.
Joe
Joe.
Kessler. Yeah. Joe.
Okay. And he appears to have known Butcher from years past. They have some sort of camaraderie, there's some kind of bond. But I also noticed too that it seemed that Kessler showed up when no one else was really around Butcher. And
Right.
we're going to talk a little bit about Butcher right this second. He is very ill with cancer because of the fact that he took Compound V numerous times in season 3, and it's messed up his body, it's messed up his mind, it seems, because he is also having ghost visions of his late wife, what am I saying? Late wife, Becca, my God, people, today is Monday Junior. Please forgive
I
me. It's
I mean,
been a
she
day.
is a white woman, so I mean,
That's not what I'm trying to get at.
you're
My
not wrong.
God.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, but I'm not trying to be disrespectful and by
Yeah.
any means. Don't come at me, people. So Butcher is seeing visions of his late wife, and it for me, I can't help but wonder if this is the same thing with Kessler because I watched the episodes twice and I'm like, there's never been a time where Butcher has been around Kessler and another person, right? Even from that first meeting, goes inside the office with Grace and the president elect, who is also from Supernatural, Bobby. Gotta love Bobby. But the fact that Kessler just kind of appears after everyone leaves the room is just kind of interesting.
Mhm.
Again, later on with Butcher, I think at Butcher's apartment, and they're having these discussions about what to do with Ryan and what to do just about this whole operation, but no one else is there to witness it. So I'm kind of the opinion that Kessler is maybe Butcher got killed in the past because he brings up about I can't think of the location, but it's something that Butcher hasn't forgotten. And the way that Butcher responded about being asked about that location, it seemed very dark. Like, how could I forget? And I wonder, was Kessler killed at that location? And that's why Butcher is having like these visions, perhaps, and trying to right his wrongs.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's interesting. I'll be a little surprised if he actually ends up being a real person.
Yeah, it just seems like with you mentioned Becca, his late wife, like it's almost like an angel devil thing, whereas
Mm,
she's the good angel, Kessler is the bad devil who, Kessler's the one who's like, kill these soups, get
yeah,
Ryan, let's train him or kill him. Like
yeah,
let's train him and learn how, like let's utilize him or let's learn how to kill him. Like
yeah.
he's hard charging that way, whereas Becca obviously is the opposite. So, and you're right, we haven't seen anyone around Kessler. I think the only thing that maybe would be a reason why Kessler's a real person is the fact that he gives Butcher this drug. They try to drug Ryan. Obviously, it doesn't work out in the third episode. And I mean, obviously, Butcher could probably acquire that some kind of fentanyl. They mentioned the name of. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly the name. I'm sure he can acquire that on his own, but
Mhm.
he does. Kessler does give that directly to Butcher in the third episode. So
I don't know.
that's the only evidence that he's a real person. But I could
That's
see him not being, and that's kind of a cool way to have a character. And yeah, I just want to mention like Jeffrey Dean Morgan is no stranger to superhero, things because he was in uh Watchmen. He was the
Yep.
comedian in Watchmen. He was also in another Zack Snyder movie, Batman v Superman. He played Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's
Oh
dad.
my God. I
Yeah,
completely forgot about that.
yeah,
That
and there were,
is
you
nuts.
know, we're about a year out from the Flash, and the original, in the Flash story that the movie is based on, the comic book storyline. In the comic book, Thomas Wayne is the one who becomes Batman, and the
Right.
Flash goes back, right? So there were a lot of people who were saying like they thought that Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character should have been
Mm.
Batman instead of Michael Keaton.
Oh
I
no.
disagree,
I
but
disagree wholeheartedly.
yeah, but they thought they should have adapted the comic and had Jeffrey Dean Morgan be, the Ben Affleck's
Mm.
dad who becomes Batman, and then I
Mm.
mean, it could have been a good movie. I'm not saying it's a terrible idea, but I like what they did with Michael Keaton. But
Well,
yeah, just wanted to mention, he's got a past with superhero stuff, so I think it's kind of cool that, and also he has a connection to Kripke. So
yeah.
I think he's a good actor to add to this world.
And I think he's more well known for playing Negan in The Walking Dead, carrying around this bat
Also,
named Lucille that's got like I think it's barbed wire. I've never watched it, my mom and brother and them have all watched it. My brother even has a prop replica of Lucille. I think that's the name with the barbed wire wrapped around it. And what's funny is that in I guess it's the first episode of The Boys for the season that bats are being used to murder people. So it's
yeah,
just kind of an interesting little tie-in, like these little nuggets that are called,
good
calling
point.
to other popular shows or movies and things like that, things that actors in The Boys have taken part in. So I always enjoy finding those little Easter eggs here and there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. Yeah, good stuff. Um, I guess moving on to another new character is Sister Sage. In episode, I believe episode 1 or maybe episode 2. In episode 2, we get the 2 new members of the 7. Those new
Yes.
members are Sister Sage and Firecracker. Let's talk about Sage first. Um, she is the smartest person on Earth, which that's her superpower, and she always corrects people. She's not the smartest woman. She's not the smartest girl. Smartest
Person.
person on Earth. Yeah, she is played by Susan Heyward, who I'm not very familiar with, but I, feel like she's been in other things. Um, what is your take on this character? The reason why Homelander seeks her out, because her only power is her brain power. She doesn't seem to have other powers, such as super strength, or she's not fast, she can't fly. But she's very smart, which obviously is something you'd like to have. What do you
Mhm.
think about Sage so far?
She's kind of dry for me when we first met her, but then seeing her interact with Homelander, who seeks her out specifically because one, she could prove to be an asset to Homelander, let alone the 7. But Homelander appears to be tired of everyone just like agreeing with him always, not challenging him, not giving him reason to fight for whatever it is that he wants. And with Sister Sage, she is challenging him. She's doing the things that he is seeking, and she does address that he's got an ego. Obviously, we all know this. This is, if you've been living under a rock if you don't know this. But for her to outright say whatever's on her mind and call out these fine little details about Homelander that no one else would really know, how often he's dyeing his hair, how his prostate's enlarged because he's peeing a lot more, those kind of things.
Right.
That's intimidating. That is intimidating for a person to be able to read you upon just a few minutes of meeting you. And so intelligence is indeed a power, and it could easily cripple a person, let alone a group of people, right? And because of her superhero power, I think it's cool to see that other side of what makes a soup. You could have the superhuman strength, you can fly, you can manipulate matter or what have you, but I think intelligence is something that a lot of people here on human level can relate to, because there are very, very smart people throughout the world and can contribute to society. And I think that's just kind of a nice nod to incorporate that into the superhero world.
Yeah, no, and that's well said. This character is, obviously she's not on the same level as Homelander physically, but intellectually she's superior to him.
Oh
So
yeah.
he's actually looking for someone who can, help him, help his cause, which his cause seems to be just like, obviously he wants to take over the country, take over the government, but also I think obviously world domination. He wants Soups to take over. Obviously, he wants to create a legacy for Ryan. Meanwhile, Butcher is, on the like they're both kind of battling for Ryan's soul. Like Butcher's
Yeah.
trying to save Ryan, Homelander's trying to create a mini Homelander, as they coin him as
Oh
Homeboy.
boy.
I thought that was, I mean, like that seems like that's such an obvious like moniker and joke, but when I saw it, I thought it was hilarious. Like I was like, they're so funny with the show. The
So bad.
commentary is like so like you know the political commentary is so like spot on, but like
Hmm.
the joke stuff is there's it is a masterful show. Like I'm not saying I'm
Oh yeah.
tired of it. I'm just saying like I do want to see what happens with these main characters. I want to see them come butt heads for the final time and see what
Yeah.
what the end result is.
Yep.
But no, Sister Sage, already through 3 episodes, major character. She's almost like the female Lex Luthor you
Mm.
know, to Homelander, Superman, except for instead of being rivals, they're on the same team. And so,
Yeah.
and I mean, we even see in this episode or in the 3rd episode of the season, which I guess I should give you the episode titles. So we're talking about episode 1, which is Department of Dirty Tricks. Episode 2 is Life Among the Septics. Episode 3 will keep the red flag flying here. In the 3rd episode, she basically takes Ashley's job. Who Ashley, if you don't remember, she's the girl boss, who's proud to mention that, but obviously, Ashley's had a rough time over the years. She's had her hair fall out. She's been put in a lot of bad situations. We saw that in Gen V also.
Mm.
And Sister Sage comes along and Homelander basically gives, all of Ashley's duties to Sage, and Ashley's demoted to being basically a mascot. Like, we need a human mascot to be the figurehead face of
Ronald
the
McDonald.
yeah, to be the face of the organization, but it's gonna be Sage calling the shots. So
But in those boots, though, in those very pointy dominatrix boots,
we're talking about
Ashley.
Ashley, yeah.
Yeah, with Cameron Coleman. My God,
Yeah.
I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, the show, like, it still will surprise you.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about the show. Even in the 4th season, there's still some shocking stuff happening.
Mhm.
But yeah, it seems like Sage is gonna have a big storyline. She obviously plays a big part in these episodes, helping to further ignite the war between the Starlighters and the Home Teamers, which the Home Teamers are Homelanders fans and followers, and obviously the Starlighters are on Annie January, aka Starlight's side.
So something I want to point out really quickly, and we can just kind of leave it at that. When Homelander is meeting, say, Sister Sage, and they're discussing about how governments have been overthrown and
Yeah.
blah 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 blah, and Homelander makes the observation of, oh, like Caesar, and Sister Sage says, like Caesar, like she was happy that Homelander said that, kind of caught on to whatever she was alluding. But I'm thinking, Homelander, do you remember what happened to Caesar? Do you remember what Brutus did to Caesar? So if Homelander is going to be Caesar, does that make Sister Sage Brutus? Et tu, Brute?
Good point.
So, I mean, is this something where, yes, she's helping him with his plan, but is she hatching her own plan while she's, I don't know. I don't know. She is very, very much orchestrating a lot of moving parts, especially when Homelander brings in his diehard fans, and Noir's there deep, and A-Train are all in this room with the fans, Homelander and Sage, and Homelander gives that command of, hey, take these bats and beat these guys to death. And once he leaves and everyone's dead, Sister Sage is just like, wait here for further instructions, and then walks away. And it's like, oh, like, okay, we're in charge here. Like, that is wild to me, because A-Train and the Deep have been in the 7 for quite some time. I would say Black Noir as well, but this is a different Noir.
This is Black Noir too. It's the same actor is playing the character, Nathan Mitchell, who is the character in the costume. However, this season he has a voice. He shouldn't, though, because obviously Black Noir doesn't speak or isn't supposed to. Yeah. I do like how this year they've got an actor who went to Godolphin, which is the university that we saw in Gen V.
Mm-hmm.
And he's constantly like trying to, he wants to know his direction, and he's he's very serious about this role, and he's overdoing it. He's talking, which he should never be talking, but he's just like in every scenario, like A-Train's like, you're doing too much. You're doing too, like, he's, when he comes in for the save or one of the, on the mission, he's like doing all this karate stuff and trying to draw attention to himself. And, Noir, not only was he mute, but he was also, kind of
violent.
Yeah, violent, but kind of lurking. He wasn't like, front and center, like, look at me. So
that is a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that kind of threw me for a loop when everyone's dead, Sister Sage leaves, and then Noir's all like, he's like, that was fucking crazy, guys, or whatever he said. And then they just cut away to the next scene. I'm like, are we just going to ignore that? Like, we're seriously just going to gloss over that right now? Like, Noir spoke. And I completely forgot in that moment that we witnessed in the previous season, Homelander just completely gut Black Noir at Vought. And so I never dawned on me that this is a replacement. I still thought it was the same Noir from the previous season. So it was hilarious, because I'm pretty sure the effect that they were going for landed, because like I said, I just completely forgot about what had happened.
Yeah, I didn't forget that Noir obviously was killed by Homelander in season 3, but I did forget about how Nathan Mitchell was going to play the character again, but it was going to be a different version of the character, a second version until because Eric Kripke actually, whenever the finale of season 3 aired,
Uh-huh.
he actually mentioned that Nathan Mitchell was going to continue to play Black
Oh, that's
Noir.
right. Yeah.
It was just going to be a different version of Noir. So
Yeah. So
you're
good.
right. Whenever this season started, I was like, "Oh, who do they have playing Noir?" And then, like, once I got to the second episode, I remembered, "Oh, yeah, it's the same guy." 'Cause I saw the
Yeah.
credits for the first one. I was like, "Oh, that's right. Okay, so they're just gonna
Mhm.
go with like this guy's an actor," and I think it works. It's funny.
It's great. I love the
Yeah,
fact that this actor has the opportunity to continue his role, but still put a spin on it. And I mean, it would have been terrible if they had cast someone else to, be in the suit and then do the exact same thing that's being done here. So I think
yeah.
it's great. I think it's brilliant. It's really brilliant.
So let's wrap up the new additions to the 7, which still doesn't have 7. And now they have 6 with the addition of Sage and Firecracker, played by Valorie Curry. Firecracker is an alt-right influencer slash podcaster. She does like kind of what we do, just not, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously too what I would expect to be a different audience. But hey, we want subscribers, we want likes, we want people to follow
Yes.
us. Doesn't matter your political leanings, we don't care. Like just
No, we don't.
subscribe to
We're
the
gonna
pod.
roast you all the same. Like,
Yeah,
let's just be
right.
real.
Yeah. But so what do you think of Firecracker so far?
Oh man. What's funny is that uh we've known for a very, very, very long time that this show pokes fun at a lot of current events happening in today's world, and this is no exception. I mean, we see a lot of people who have used their platform to reach thousands and millions to share their message and conspiracy theories and what have you. The one that kind of pops in my mind as of late is the man who outright said that Sandy Hook massacre actually never happened, right? And he,
Oh yeah,
was
Alex
tried.
Jones. Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, I mean he's got his own like kind of network, his entertainment network, podcast network, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
And he's told to pay billions to the families, right? So that kind of to me was very. This is that character, like Firecracker. Firecracker is that character who's just spouting like kooky things and people are listening, right? People are definitely listening to her because she also is making an appearance at TruthCon. I think that's what it's called, this convention that has all these different people and booths, just sharing again these conspiracy theories. And I like the nods towards Soldier Boy is still alive, captured by the CIA kind of thing. And I'm like, oh,
right.
you're right on the nose about that
You're
one,
not
which
wrong.
is
Yeah,
which is hilarious. So with Firecracker and her being, let's just be real, like her being female, dressing the way that she is, she's going to garner some sort of attention
yeah,
to the things that she has to say. She seems to obviously have it out for Starlight, and we learn the reason why, which stems back to childhood pageant shows where Annie was a 13-year-old who was spreading horrible rumors about uh, Firecracker, who was then, I think she said,
Sparkler.
Sparkler. Thank you.
Yeah,
And it's just this vendetta, this, vendetta that Firecracker now has for Starlight. And I think it's a great addition because um, I think you can gain the audiences that you might not have considered had it not been for recruiting her. So, I mean, this is still a marketing company, if you will. I mean, yes, it's a pharmaceutical company, but Vought is all about its numbers. It's all about its audience. It's all
yeah,
about just attention.
yeah. I mean, Vought sells everything, but also, Firecracker really plays to Homelander's base, and so you know, she bolsters the base. So that's part of the reason why she's there. But I wanted to mention another supernatural tie-in. So she has a helper named Splinter who who can clone himself, and he
God.
clones a lot of himself naked. This was one of the kind of gross out moments in episode 2, Brittany. If you want to kind of explain your history with the actor and this character, which RIP, he does not make it through episode 2.
Does not
But
make sense.
what'd you think about her cloning? I mean,
His
obviously
cloning.
yeah, he's like he's very into Firecracker, but she's not as into him. But he clones himself and he gets into himself in a various ways. If you want to discuss Splinter for us.
Splinter is, as you mentioned, um he's also from Supernatural, and his character in Supernatural is extremely different than what we see here. Um, I am blanking on the actor's name. Help me out here, Justin.
I believe his name is Rob Benedict.
Rob Benedict. Yes, thank you. So Rob Benedict in Supernatural played a character named Chuck, who we were introduced to as an author, simultaneously writing about the Winchester's stories, right? They were called the Winchester Chronicles. There was a series of books, kind of like your Twilight. And he was predicting things that were happening as they were happening. Turns out he was a quote, prophet of the Lord. And that's why he was able to write all the things that he did. Well, spoiler. And y'all just, take a moment to walk away or fast forward. He's not a prophet of the Lord in the Supernatural. He's God. Yeah, that's right. God, God. And in this show, he is someone who apparently likes to salad toss.
Yeah, himself.
Like himself.
Himself. Yeah.
I feel like this was supposed to be that wow factor that I was talking about at the top of this episode.
Yeah.
It was shocking.
Yeah. No,
because
definitely.
I was not anticipating that at all. Especially, I think he cloned himself 6 times, right? So he's like in the sauna. He's maybe it's the Prime Splinter. I don't know, but Prime. I'm going to say Prime Splinter. Prime Splinter is jacking off to a picture of Firecracker, and he's followed by clones of himself doing the nasty. And
human centipede kind of thing going on.
There you go. And it was just, oh my God, because of all people, it's Frenchie and Kimiko who opened the door to witness this thing. And Frenchie's, we all know Frenchie's bi, so he's like probably like semi into it, right? But I think that definitely had a shock factor, but that wasn't like the wow, like, oh my God, they just like took it to another level sort of thing. But for me personally, because this is the same actor who played God in Supernatural, and then he's doing this, and he said yes to Eric Kripke, like, yeah, bro, like whatever you want me to do, I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna give you the performance of my life. By the way, that little trivia, if you're watching the X-ray sort of version that's available on Amazon, Rob Benedict studied Shakespeare at Northwestern University.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he studied Shakespeare, but he's pleasuring himself repeatedly in this show. My God, how we have fallen.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, that was on a different level. And then, of course, the big fight ensues with some of the boys at this convention that's being held at a hotel, but they kind of, find themselves inside of a bat mitzvah, which is themed the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, whatever that. It's another Amazon show.
Yeah.
And eventually the Prime Splinter is murked, which means all his clones are going to be murked as well. So that was that was kind of funny to watch, because all this is happening while they're naked.
Yeah.
As you do in the world of The Boys.
Yeah, I mean, The Boys is known for, like the shock value kind of stuff, but also like there's always male nudity pretty much every episode now. There's something, from the end of the first episode where where Butcher sends a picture to Newman, the guy showing his asshole,
which, by the way, that was Claudia's genuine reaction
to seeing the photo.
She almost broke character. Like if you go back and watch that scene, she almost broke character entirely. Hilarious.
I did want to say, talking about, we went from Firecracker to Splinter, but just to wrap up Firecracker, I thought one of the best lines in the first 3 episodes was by Firecracker, because when Sage and Firecracker meet at the Truth Con, Sage is asking her about like,
Oh, yes.
do you believe what you're doing or whatever? Or, you're rallying these people with all these conspiracy theories, and I think that Firecracker had the best line. She said,
Mhm.
"What I'm selling is purpose."
Yep.
She's like, "Which would you rather be? Which would you rather believe? That you belong to a community of warriors battling a secret evil, or that you're a lonely, inconsequential nobody that no one will ever remember?" And I think that there were probably some people that were watching this who didn't realize that they were talking about them, and like,
Mm.
or people they know, and it's
Mhm.
I thought those words were pretty obviously they were pointed, but also pretty profound
Yeah.
in what is happening in our world, but especially in this superhero world. I thought
Yeah.
that was like really good line. So
It was really poignant. Like,
yeah,
occasionally this show will have some like very just like kind of like it makes you think. Like
yeah,
what they're doing, what they're saying, like truly makes you think. And it's like this show just hits on so many different levels, like in terms of entertainment, of course, and its goriness and the shock value. But then there are those very few quiet sort of moments where it's it's impactful in a more meaningful sense.
yeah, exactly. And a little bit ago, you mentioned about Frenchie. So let's talk about another new character who I'm not sure how big of a character this character is going to be throughout the season, but you mentioned how Frenchie's bisexual. Well,
Yeah.
his love interest in this season so far is a character named Colin Hauser, played by an actor named Elliot Knight. And we learn that Colin is first off, he meets Frenchie because he's working, or he meets Frenchie like an Alcoholics Anonymous,
Anonymous.
Okay. And Frenchie ends up getting him a job with the Starlighters group,
Mhm.
or the Starlighters home. But
Starlight's house.
yeah, Starlight's house. But then we learn that, while Frenchie's hooking up with this guy, he knew this guy from before because Frenchie actually murdered his family. His father was a judge of some sort, and Frenchie took out his whole family. Brittany, what do you think so far about Colin, and where do you see where this might be going? Because I'm kind of like, I mean, I obviously he's going to find out that Frenchie killed his family, I think, at some point, but do you think this is a character that we see through for the rest of the season, or is this a kind of a mini 4 episode arc kind of thing?
To me, it kind of felt a little random. Again, maybe
Yeah,
because the fact that season 3 is not entirely fresh on my mind, and so I feel like I have to maybe just do a quick recap of what transpired in season 3, specifically with Frenchie, because we know he had that encounter with that Russian woman
yeah,
who basically just said that you can't turn off who you are. Like you've done all these bad things. Like that's just who you are. You have to
yeah,
live with it. And we saw a little cameo of her in his hallucination.
yeah.
But
Little
with
Nina is her name.
little Nina, and with Colin, it's probably we don't know if maybe Frenchie sought him out to try and right the wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Right.
they're all really good at like finding people if they really want to. So for Frenchie, maybe he's trying to uh do like a version of 12 steps and confront the people that he's done the bad thing to, and try to maybe ask for their forgiveness. But with Colin, it seems it's very much more than just that. He wants, at least Colin wants something more. Frenchie is obviously kind of standoffish in that respect, but then he kind of, gives into it. So Colin, this is the boys. Colin might end up dead in one way or another, either by Frenchie's hand, by little Nina's hand,
Yeah.
somebody, or just in the crossfire. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Colin is not long for this world, and if he were to have a bigger role than what I'm guessing, I'll be genuinely surprised.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're gonna see this guy die probably sooner than later because this show doesn't play around with that stuff. We've learned that in the past where this is a fast moving show. Although
Yeah, it is.
it is
Yeah.
interesting though that we do know there will be another season that'll be the final season. Butcher has 6 months to live. You wonder how this storyline is going to play out over this season and going into the next season with his issues. And we'll talk about Butcher more later on, but I just think
I
that's kind
have
of interesting.
theories. I have
Yeah.
theories. So,
Okay. We will.
um,
Well, you know what? Let's talk about it now. Let's talk about Butcher with
bye,
his
Frenchie.
yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get to Frenchie a little bit more here in a second, but
Yeah.
with Butcher, there is there's a moment at the end of the first episode where you see like a worm or something near his eye, and you're like, "What is
Hmm.
that?" And then later on in episode 3, he's baking cookies for Ryan because the
Hmm.
cookies have the fentanyl, the drug that they're hoping to use against the soup. And while he's baking, and like you see, like I think it's at his neck and it goes in the back of his head. So it's like,
Hmm.
what? I mean, obviously, I know he has a form of cancer, but like that's not cancer related. What's going on with these worms or things under his skin?
Parasite, for lack of better guess.
Yeah, yeah.
It one would presume it's a parasite. It kind of gives me what's the Kennedy that's currently running for president right now.
Oh
There was
yeah,
something that he
RFK. Yeah,
RFK had
yeah.
somehow gotten a tapeworm in his brain because of uncooked pork or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm really stretching here, y'all, but that's like the only kind of connection that I can make is that Butcher has developed some sort of parasite, whether that's because of taking the compound V so often or for from something else. I honestly don't know. I kind of have this theory, and it's not completely fleshed out, but I have this theory that because the boys is supposed to piggyback off of Gen V. We know at the end of Gen V that a bunch of these kids are locked up at Vought Tower. We know that Marie has a blood power. What
Right.
if she were to be rescued somehow by Butcher and them, and she can sense all the bad that's like inside of him in his blood, and she's able to extract that from him. Therefore, he could carry on into next season because we don't know, like in terms of time frame, how fast this season may go. Is it going to be over a course of a month, months, years? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like Butcher obviously has to be in this show. Like this,
Yeah.
there's no The Boys without Butcher. So I don't know. It's a big stretch. Like I said, encountering Marie, her being able to take the nasty stuff out of him, the cancer out of his blood, maybe that parasite as well. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I know they're showing us that for a reason. It's not just a,
Yes. Yes.
coincidence. So, now while Butcher is the face of the boys, he's not the leader. The leader of the boys is still MM. And let's
Could
talk
you
about
believe yeah, we have to talk about this. Could you believe
go
that
ahead.
people actually thought that they recast MM?
Well, he lost a lot of weight, Laz
He
Alonso did.
did.
And I do like
The
how
facial
in
hair,
yeah,
lack of. I don't like it. I need him with the facial hair.
but he did lose a lot of weight,
He
and
did.
they reference it almost like in the first 5 minutes of the episode because, Kamiko and Frenchie, they're trying to, like, sabotage this Victoria Newman campaign event,
Yeah.
and they're trying to like, their cover is their waiters, and they basically say, like, "Oh, he needs to have some of these hors d'oeuvres," and he says, like, "I'll eat them all," you know? They're basically saying, "You need to eat food," which is
Yeah.
basically a way of going, "Okay, yes, this is the same person, but he's lost a lot of weight." Um, it's funny because when you first see him, it's kinda jarring compared to what he looked like in the first 3 seasons, but, like, as it goes along, I kind of forgot, and he's just such that character that it didn't really stick with me, so
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was hilarious that people actually believed that that he was recast. And I'm like, no, like this is the same voice, mannerism. Like it's crazy. But yeah, I think we've touched on this in previous reviews how Laws genuinely does have OCD, and the fact that he is actively like reading a book, like a self-help book on how to overcome OCD, but he still struggles because of the nature of his work. Like he's now head of the boys. He has to answer to the CIA. He's also dealing with stuff in his personal life with that of his daughter, who is getting into fights and telling her mother, eat a dick. And, you know, having to be asked by his ex-wife to go find the ex-wife's, I guess now ex-husband, because
or
he
yeah, were they ever married? I think they
I
were just like together,
I
maybe.
think I think they were married.
Oh,
I
they
think they
were
were
okay.
married. But he left because he got so involved with all the Homelander, stuff, support, what have you.
Mhm.
And so MM's having to deal with like a lot of stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of interesting how they're making all that work. Um, and the line, this is just an iconic line, I think, when MM and not Janine, Monique are talking about locating Todd. That way, she has some peace of mind of knowing he's okay and what have you. And MM's like, yeah, he goes, I guess I'll do it. He's a good guy, and I get why you were with him. He goes, because it certainly wasn't for the D. And then Monique's just kind of like this face of, well, and then MM's like, right.
right.
And that was further stressed by
Yeah,
Frenchie when they were doing this kind of covert mission of spying, and Frenchie makes a similar comment about how Todd's got this Pete Davidson sort of vibe about him, and I'm like, just this is so stupid, so silly.
yeah, and we might as well finish the thought on Todd because he's
Yeah,
a he's a home teamer, which is, the Homelander super fan, and he gets to
so
meet
dedicated.
Homelander. Yeah, he gets to meet Homelander, him and 2 other guys, and then they get to be beaten to death with baseball bats by Black Noir to the Deep and, A-Train. So,
What a sacrifice!
yeah,
If this is what you can expect when you are a fan of Homelander, by all means, go ahead, people, go ahead.
exactly. And I did wanna say, like, also with MM, he's the leader of the boys, but it's a team that's not really a team anymore. It's kind of fractured. Obviously, with Butcher being in and out, and as we walk out of episode 3, he's officially out of the boys. A lot of strife with that group, and doesn't seem like it's not working out well. Being the leader of the boys is maybe looks better on a resume than does a reality.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, Butcher still was kind of semi a part of this in the beginning, and then he gets fired, if you will, but still shows up and still is going to operate as a private concerned citizen, and still, somehow has the boys back, regardless of what may occur between himself and MM or Huey or anybody
Yeah,
anybody else for that
yeah. So moving on, let's get to Annie's storyline. Annie January, who she didn't want to be known as Starlight anymore, but then she decides to, once again assume the mantle of Starlight.
matter.
I guess for the greater good. What's your take on what we've seen from that character so far through 3 episodes?
It's hard for any one person to disassociate from their public image, right? Obviously, Starlight and Annie January alone have made an impact in the world for very, very different reasons. Starlight, of course, being a superhero who was welcomed into the Seven and caused waves, when people thought that the only reason she got into the Seven was because she sucked, deep.
Mhm.
And all that backlash and just every horrible thing that she went through both publicly and privately. But she wanting to create this new identity, or maybe not new, but this identity of I'm not Starlight, I'm Annie January, and I'm going to do good things, right, with the Starlight House and what have you, because she just is not about Vought. She's not about any of what it is that they do that she once was a part of. And it's hard to try to move towards a goal when so much of who you are was in the public eye, and that's all that people see of you. So sometimes you have to, make that sacrifice and embrace it and just try to see if that's going to help. And I feel for her. I honestly feel for her. She's always been one of my favorite characters, and now that she's part of the boys, it looks like she's really trying to learn how to fly
Right.
with her powers, which deals with kind of causing everyone to go off the grid because she's absorbing so much of that electrical current and what have you. Um, Her trying to save Kimiko was kind of funny, not gonna lie. Um,
Yeah, she didn't do the best job.
No,
Obviously,
a little
it's
bit.
good that Kimiko can, has like the Wolverine healing factor because
Which I forgot.
we've seen her obviously already this season. She loses an arm, her face is really messed up, her whole body is pretty messed up after that fall she takes in the first episode. So,
God, yeah.
but because she can like heal super fast,
But
um,
how was just so casual when Kimiko went splat and she runs up and looks at MM and MM is just kind of shrugs like, like what could I have done? Like
yeah,
this is a Tuesday, this is just a normal thing.
yeah, and
Why?
Kimiko in this season so far, her storyline is the fact that she is trying to find her voice, both literally, but figuratively, but more so literally because she has this. She has, she lost her voice through psychological trauma. She goes to like
Sure.
a speech therapist, and I think one of the funnier moments so far of the season is when she's signing to Frenchie, and she's saying like the doctor I saw was right. I need to like embrace myself and you know face my past and she's like, so I'm gonna go and kill them all. And she's like smiling as she's like signing, and Frenchie's like, no, 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 don't do that. Like but it's like she's so like that actress Karen Fukuhara. She's so
Fukuhara.
great at that role,
So
and
good.
she doesn't say anything, but
No.
she's so expressive with her face and her her eyes and like and she's, obviously with the sign language and stuff, but,
Listen, she might not be
she's
able to
great.
communicate vocally.
Yeah.
That girl can throw back some beers though. Like I just she could just pound them and it's crazy. I love when they're walking through Truth Con and trying to tail, I think it was Splinter that they were tailing, and she comes back and she's clearly intoxicated and Frenchie's like, "Are you okay?" and kind of thing. She's like, I had like one, two, and she starts counting out how many beers she has, and it's progressively getting more and more and more. And then as they're about to walk away for that final time, she turns around, she holds out like eight fingers, like, I've had eight. And she's like, no, it was really like 16. I don't remember the number
Yeah.
precisely, but like she threw back a lot because she was traumatized by what she saw at one of the tables about the children. Oh God, what is that organization? The
Shining Light or something?
Shining Light, right?
Right.
And she saw herself in that image and starts having these flashbacks of what her life was like prior to finding the boys. And she has her moment where she's, in so many words, calling out bullshit, and it's child trafficking. And if you really want to do something about it, address this and what have you, not these lies. So yeah, she is a force to be reckoned with. And Karen Fukuhara, just, yeah, she's amazing as Kimiko.
Yes, she is. And rounding out the roster for the boys is Hugh Campbell. Can't forget Huey. His storyline so far through 3 episodes is his dad has had a stroke, he's in the hospital, and his mother has returned, which I didn't I thought the mother was dead. I didn't know that she just left. I couldn't remember that part of it.
No, I knew
Um,
she was gone.
he hasn't seen her since he was 6. So, that's a big adjustment. What do you think so far of Huey's mom returning and just how he's kind of, dealing with everything that's happened so far?
Right now, I don't see the significance of that particular storyline. I mean, we've known for a long time that his father has either been in witness protection or he's been in some sort kind of hiding and what have you. And that's why we don't see him regularly in these episodes, because of the nature of Huey's job. But I guess this was just the way to bring back the relationship between Huey and his father. But then you throw in that plot twist of bringing back the mother, who also works for Vought, who has like her little carrying travel case of these natural oils and all these, herbal supplement things to help with various ailments. And she shares her story with Huey of why she left. She had really bad postpartum depression and acknowledges that she struggled and, probably was not meant to be a parent. And it wasn't for, I guess, lack of love. It's just, I've never experienced postpartum. I never will. And I feel for those who have that sort of struggle, who want a parent, who are parents, and that kind of thing just takes over your body. It's far more than, the physical side of things. It's incredibly mentally draining and emotionally draining, and it does impact everyone around you. And for his mom, for whatever reasons, felt that she just needed to leave, and she did.
Yeah.
But for overall, I'm not quite sure where this is going unless she has an evil plot. This is The Boys. I'm always skeptical of people.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the dad's gonna die. I don't know.
I don't know.
That part is kind of up in the air as far as what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
From Huey to his former boss, let's talk about Victoria Newman, who right
mean
off
Jack-
the bat.
You mean Jack Quaid's real life girlfriend?
I know. I didn't know that until recently. I was like very surprised to learn that.
Yeah.
That Claudia Doumit, I believe is how you say her name,
Mm-hmm.
plays Victoria Newman, is his girlfriend. So in real life.
Yeah.
So way to go,
Crazy.
Jack Quaid. Yeah, good job. But Victoria Newman, we learn right away in episode 1, she's basically indestructible. Huey throws acid on her face, or on her body, nothing really happens.
Yep.
Then Butcher shoots her in the head, point blank, nothing happens. Like she shakes it off. Like, I mean, I know she's worried about, the boys and Homelander possibly exposing her as a soup, given she's the VP, she's running to, hopefully she'll be the president whenever
she's VP elect.
Right. But I'm just not really sure what she's worried about. It seems like she can't be killed.
Again, this goes back to similar of Homelander's concern with his numbers and Vought and just appearances. She is of the same mindset, albeit obviously she doesn't work for Vought. I don't know. I doubt Vought is aware of who she is outside of Homelander and the select few that do know her true identity, if you will, and of course that of Edgar. But she's stayed off the radar, and her being exposed is going to jeopardize everything, because she, having created this what was that government office that dealt with soups and how we need to maintain and this and that, and then it's all a facade because she is a soup, and she will be deemed as a hypocrite. Yep. Very similar to that of Queen Alicent in House of the Dragon. If y'all want to find out what I'm talking about, you need to go watch our review for House of the Dragon. That's just my little plug-in right there. But yeah, it's all about appearances, Justin, and she being outed, now being vice president elect, and Singer is clearly onto her, right? He's very aware of who she is and what she is capable of doing to him. So she kills him, she becomes president. And what is she going to do when she's president?
Yeah. I mean, that's the plan is to put her in place, and Homelander wants her to, control the government, and then, reveal that she's a soup, and just, I guess soup domination is his plan. But with Newman, she's also got a daughter who's a soup, which we knew that she was, giving her the compound V shots in season 3.
That was brutal.
Well, now we've seen it manifest itself, and that was kind of one of the first gross out moments of this season. Her daughter Zoe has like 4 tentacles coming out of her mouth, and she can just like eat people with those tentacles. It looks pretty brutal, honestly.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
Very gnarly. Yeah. And Victoria says the reason she did it was to protect her daughter and what have you, let her have the advantage, if you will. And, the scenes that we get Victoria encountering Butcher, trying to make some sort of arrangement, and then her also meeting with Homelander at the ice rink, because we would be remiss, Justin, if we did not talk about this scene between her and Homelander at the ice rink.
Yeah.
You know, Homelander kind of dropped some bars. You know, in his opinion, Victoria's ashamed of who she is. She's hiding who she is, and he blames Edgar, who did a number on her, as he claims. But you look back at the conversation that Newman had with Marie at Godolphin when she did reveal her true identity, the same or similar blood sort of power and what have you. Two very different conversations. It's really interesting to see that unfold.
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember from Gen V, Marie isn't like indestructible, right? So
I think a lot of these soups have like bulletproof skin or diamond hard skin, because remember when Starlight was trying to get the tracker taken out of her, they had to use like a really special tool in order to pierce her skin, because any other normal drill or what have you was just going to bounce right off of her skin. So I think probably a lot of these soups are virtually like they can't be defeated. Like I think Homelander even says something like similar in the very first episode of the season, that they are indestructible.
Mhm.
Like illnesses can't affect them. So I'm
Which
curious if the virus that was being developed in Godolphin
right.
could actually work on, let's say, Homelander. We've seen it work on other people, but we haven't seen it on someone such as Homelander.
Well, that kind of gets us to one of the moments in episode 1 where we have there's a couple of Gen V references which I appreciated, where
Yes.
Butcher meets Newman at a Vought video store, and you see Polarity's movie poster, which
Yeah.
we didn't get to see a ton of Polarity in Gen V, but
Probably won't now.
probably won't know. But Butcher, like you said, he references the virus that was created during at Godolphin. What they're cooking up at Godolphin, it's not strong enough to stop Homeland. So if that's the
Mhm.
case, then that kind of, that weapon is kind of moot, because if
Yeah.
you can't take out the guy it's made to stop, like, then what are you doing?
Could it take out Victoria Newman though?
Good question.
That'd be interesting. It'd be interesting if the plot twist was Homelander gets his hands on that virus and he uses it on her to overthrow her and become supreme soup god of the
But it's
world.
but it seems
I
like
don't
he
know.
could probably overthrow her anyway. I don't know. Like, it's
I don't know. Her head popping power seems to be pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
always been
good.
kind of like my issue with the show. It's obviously it's a small issue, but like, just like understanding the power levels, and
Yeah.
I mean, even with like
Can we get an
art,
X-Men breakdown, like with the Omega mutants and all that stuff? Like, can we rank these
yeah,
people?
yeah. Well, who's an Omega level threat? Yeah,
Exactly.
that would be pretty cool. Yeah,
That'd be helpful.
yeah.
Incredibly helpful. But can we
Um,
talk about the ice rink scene? Jesus.
let's go. Yeah, that's another gross out scene that we're gonna
Oh,
get to. But yeah, that's probably the one. That's probably the most surprising scene I would
yeah.
think of. We have Vought on ice, which is it's around Christmas time. I assume it's around Christmas time, because
Mhm.
their song and their singing is "Let's Put the Price Back in Christmas," and it's a very well written song. I honestly,
Yeah.
it's kind of a nice little
It's
tune.
kinda catchy. Kinda
Yeah, it's
catchy.
pretty catchy.
It's kinda like that Captain Rogers Broadway show.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's very. I didn't think about that, but you're right. Yeah,
I mean, that was the first thing I
that's
thought of. I'm like, "Wow, is this like a nod to what we saw in Hawkeye?" Like, that's kind of funny.
yeah,
Um, Rogers, the musical. I definitely go see that on stage.
yeah.
We get in a version of Maeve, who's hasn't made an appearance so far in season 4. I think she's living her best life post fight with Soldier Boy and presumed dead. So well produced ice rink show with the little teeny minor hiccup of Homelander just using his blazers and being blinded by a light and then completely slicing in half the Maeve actress on ice, which was like, holy fucking shit. And what happens is that basically Huey and MM are trying to put a bug somewhere to hear what Newman and I don't think they were expecting Homelander to show up, or maybe it's the other way around. Either way, it doesn't matter. Bug is going to be planted. They want to hear what's happening, and Huey is in the air vent. It's very hot. One drop of sweat falls from his nose, lands on Homelander, and he just transforms. Like he just loses his shit, lasers the vent. Huey's trying to make the great escape. Homelander's trying to track him down, but Homelander just massacres this one ice skater who, needlessly to say, dies, and everyone else loses their shit. They're skating over fingers, they're skating over each other, they're slicing, people's necks with their blades, and it's just chaos, like pure chaos. And according to NNC News, it was a fire. There was a fire that broke out at the ice rink, Justin.
Yeah, electrical fire. And
electrical fire.
Yeah, so Vaught on Ice is going to be on ice for a little while, and as will the arena. So
pretty good.
Yeah, tickets to that. Tough luck.
Tough luck.
Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, it was a catchy little number. Let's put the Christ back in Christmas.
Very good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was entertaining. It was definitely entertaining. I think the biggest surprise out of that episode, Justin, was A-Train seems to be helping the boys to some degree. Whether it's out of guilt, finally, it's finally caught up with him, how he's acted, and now he's being treated by Vought, and his own brother wants nothing to do with him. And he helped free these wrongly accused men who killed the home teamers, right? At that protest, if you will. It's interesting to see that change in A-Train. Was that something you expected?
It's funny because he has been on, it's like it seemed like he was on the like an arc of redemption, 2 seasons ago, or when did he have the heart issue? Was that the end of season 2?
That was season 2.
Yeah.
Because of
right.
What was her name? Pop Claw?
Pop Claw, yeah.
Yeah. So season 2, season 1. Either way.
Maybe that's season 1, but I think he has the heart issue in season 2. I think the heart issue was resolved in season 3 because of the guy he kills, the guy he drags that they reference. references that when he's trying to get A-Train to flip. Blue Hawk, I think, is the name of the character.
Blue Hawk.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it seems like, that's part of the show that's like, it feels like he's gonna. Yeah, I feel like, he's obviously, like you said, he's conflicted, where he's still, if Homelander tells him to do something, he's gonna do it. But at the same time, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say what Homelander wanted Deep to do to A-Train.
Yeah, Deep was gonna do it too. Yeah,
Deep was gonna do it. He's like, sex is just perspective, right, bro? And it's like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah. But A-Train storyline, I feel like it's kind of messy because it feels like it was going a certain way, and then it was like there was like a pause, and no, he's still a villain, and then it's like, well, maybe now, but then, I would say I think he's probably going to be a character who dies in the 5th season. Maybe they all do. I don't know, but
yeah,
I would kind of like to see his storyline be resolved one way or the other. Either he's remains a villain, or he like flips,
or he's out.
Yeah, or something. I'd like to see that kind of, because it seems like that's kind of like almost like running in place. Even though no pun with his ability to run, but it is like it's yeah.
It would be interesting to see the boys expand to involve more soups. So like Maeve kind of fought on their side for a bit of last season, right? The boys initially tried to get Soldier Boy to be on their side to fight Homelander. And I think if there are enough people who maybe take that flip, it would make an interesting finale of it's the boys plus some Soups versus Vought and Soups and what have you. I don't know. I think it would just kind of be an interesting dynamic to see unfold with that.
No, I agree. I do. I agree. And speaking of A Train, let's talk about a little bit more about his storyline. He is in the second episode. It opens. He's filming a movie with Will Ferrell, and it's
How
a movie.
Blindside.
Yeah, it's a movie where Will Ferrell is like the coach from the suburbs who's like trying to help the inner city kid. The movie is called Training A Train, and
Mhm.
I thought it was funny because we get Adam Bork, who is the Vought director extraordinaire, and he calls him. He's like, cut. After the scene, he's like Ferrell fucking Street. He's like, I can smell an Oscar. Like he's like just gushing over Will Ferrell in this
Yeah.
scene,
Yeah.
and I did like the line that Will Ferrell delivers to A Train in the scene. He's like, come back with me to the suburbs, because like they're like in like the inner city, and there's like a drug deal going on, and all this stuff's happening, and Will Ferrell is the white savior coach trying to help the kid, the black kid in the inner city. So
I like I
very
like
cheesy.
him. I like him trying to direct A Train on. Oh yeah, so you said it doesn't matter, but as scripted, it says it don't matter. Like it
Right.
just, I was like, oh my god, trying to be urban and it's just not landing, dude. Like just stop. Also, Will Ferrell, why?
I
Why?
mean,
Was that
very
a
big
special
star.
request? Was that a special request on Kripke or Will or Seth Rogen, for God's sakes? Like I'm not a huge Will Ferrell fan, people. I apologize. I just thought that was really random.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's for shock value. It's like, wow, Will Ferrell's in this episode. Like, that's pretty cool that they could
Yeah.
just kind of
So
dial
silly.
him up and get him involved.
So silly.
Will Ferrell's known for comedy. One of the funnier characters in the show is the Deep. Not always intentionally is he funny, but Brittany, what do you think about what we've seen so far from the Deep? Where he's got his octopus girlfriend,
Played
Ambrosius,
by played by Tilda Swinton.
voiced by Tilda Swinton. And
Yep.
then in I don't want to say the finale, but in the third episode, he ends up hooking up with Sage, who is, obviously we talked about how like, Sage is Homelander's mental superior, but she's like miles ahead of the Deep. So what'd you think about his storyline so far through the three episodes?
Deep is still Deep. He's still trying to be on Homelander's good graces and agree with him on everything. He was willing to suck A Train dry if that's what Homelander wanted and not really question it. He makes a suggestion to have himself be in Ryan's first save. As we know with a lot of Soups that their documented crime saves are heavily scripted, choreographed, et cetera, et cetera. And when he makes that suggestion to Ashley, who doesn't give a shit about Deep, was like, no, this is like stupid, like stop talking kind of thing, walks away. But Sage is like, no, like you absolutely should be at the save. That's really smart. And I think she was kind of taken aback by that suggestion from Deep, right? Because Deep is just so needy. He needs to be wanted, right? And she tells Deep, hey, you need to stand up for yourself towards Ashley. Like you're the superior being compared to her. And making the reference to the capybara, the largest rodent in South America, and Deep just can't get that name right, when he finally confronts Ashley. And, I'm at the peak of human or whatever he says, and you're a capybarnia. And she's like, a what? He tries so hard to be
Yeah.
smart and it just doesn't work. But for comedic purposes, yes, absolutely it works. But he does like grow a pair and he like gets all in her face and says that I'm the Lord of the Seven Seas and you won't talk to me like this. And if you do, I'm gonna drown you in your toilet, after I've used it. And it's like, oh, okay. Okay, Deep. Like, all right, I'm kind of, a little, I kind of like you a little bit more now. But with the comedic timing with him is just hilarious, and the fact that he has to hide the octopus Ambrosius from everyone, right? He's in a relationship with her, and this is the same octopus, y'all, that we saw in season 3 that was showing him love during oh, what was that episode called, Justin? The really big orgy episode.
Oh yeah, Herogasm.
Herogasm. How can I
Yeah.
forget? That was my favorite episode in the whole season. Yeah, so that's the same octopus. Anyway, Deep is trying just so hard. And him hooking up with Sage at the very end was kind of random, it felt, because Sage just didn't quite seem like herself. She's over here eating a blooming onion, and Deep's always eating something, I guess. And she's like, "Oh, you're hot." And he goes, "Oh, you're so fucking hot." And they start making out, what have you. But here's the takeaway from that scene, right? Was when the camera panned out and lowered, and then you see like this instrument on the table that's partially bloodied. And I had to rewind that a couple of times because I just could not for the life of me make out what that instrument was until it dawned on me that I believe is an instrument used for lobotomies. And if Sage has to use that on herself in order to like chill the F out, that is wild. That is crazy. And we talked about it. These soups seem to be virtually indestructible. So if she has to put it to her temple, up her nose, other areas to access her brain just so she can like chill out for a day, damn.
Yeah, in that scene before she gets with Deep, she's watching like trash TV and just kind of vegging out on the bloomin' onion. So I guess it's trying to show you like that, she does have to like dumb herself down to fit into the world with the rest of us or something. That was kind of my take on it. But as
Maybe.
far as that instrument, you definitely latched onto that. I did not understand that the first couple times I saw it. I remember the first time I saw it,
It was strange.
you pointed it out, and I was like, well, I guess, but that sounds like, very painful way to, turn yourself down or whatever. Like that's, again, it's not clear what these superheroes, what their powers are. But with her, they do say she doesn't have any powers except for she's very smart. So
That's
that's
power.
why.
I don't know what you're
No,
thinking. That's power.
no, that's a power. But like if you punch Albert Einstein in the face, he's gonna get a black eye. You know what I'm saying? Like you punch
Yeah,
Steve
but he's
Rogers
also
in the
not
face.
but he's also not a soup.
No, but like, I mean, the intelligence. Like if intelligence is your superpower, that is a power. But if
Tony Stark, anyone?
your skin, yeah, Tony Stark died though. That's my point exactly. Like he could be bruised, he could be battered, he could be beaten, he could die.
Time travel. I mean,
Right.
that's like a significant thing. I mean, who else could have figured
I'm
that
just
out?
saying, I don't think that she has any other powers besides her brain, which that is a power, but if you hit her in the face, it's gonna leave a mark. You know what I mean? So like
Is it though?
I'm just going by what they said. They said she has no powers besides being
She
super
could be
strong.
bulletproof and she's just hiding it. Just saying.
Well, maybe.
Just saying.
Maybe so.
Just saying.
That would be kind of sneaky though, because
Maybe being that smart and crafty is what it's all about. She's not going to let on more than what she needs to.
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
What'd you think about Homelander in this episode? I mean, obviously he's going through like a midlife crisis. He's finding gray hair.
Why is he
just
keeping it?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. He is just kind of losing it because he so wants to be loved, but then now he realizes that no matter what he does, he has people that love him regardless. So that's part of why he brings in Sage, because he wants somebody to kind of check him. And, even down to he's trying to create this legacy for Ryan, but, even as they're setting up Ryan's, first save, he's not on the call sheet and he interjects himself into it. He's just very desperate. And then, as his kind of the storyline wraps up in the third episode, Ryan is kind of rejecting him. Ryan obviously has more feelings toward Butcher than he does his own like blood father. And then we see a scene where once again Homelander's talking to the mirror and he's got these different versions of himself talking back, and they tell him that, like, you need to go home. You need to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? What does that mean? I mean, we kind of know how Homelander was kind of, you know, created in a lab in a way. So like,
Yeah.
what do you think that means?
So to answer that question, then I'm going to backtrack to everything else that is Homelander, Antony Starr performance. Going home is almost parallel to Kimiko's storyline, right? She has to overcome her past in order to move forward, right? She encountered someone that she knew from the organization. Can't think what it's called again. um, the shining light,
Shining light,
sun,
yeah, yeah,
star, whatever the fuck it is. She encountered someone who remembered her, and now that's like new trauma that you've got to overcome. It's going to be the same thing for Homelander, who earlier in this season getting extremely frustrated and pissed off with everyone at Vought, that everyone agrees with him constantly and he's not happy, right? He said that to Sage, right? He's worked so hard to get to peak level at Vought, and his numbers are great, but and he kills people, saves people. It doesn't matter. People applaud and love him, but it's not enough. And then he projects that on Ryan, because who lied to him about his whereabouts when he went to go visit Butcher, because he does feel some type of way that Butcher's, dying. And Homelander's like, no matter what I do, it's not enough. Like, you have everything, like, and you're not happy. It's not enough. It's the same damn thing. So the scene where Homelander is speaking to his three other reflections, one's more compassionate, the other one's the very angry, side of him. And then the top one is that more sensible, logical side of him. So we're seeing, the multiple personalities that make up Homelander, but they all say, you need to go home. You need to go to the source. You need to confront the thing that you have not dealt with. And that was whatever happened in that room that he was raised in. He's already killed the doctor who virtually raised him. So
right.
what all else he may need to overcome remains to be seen. But I feel very strongly in saying that his storyline is going to be very similar to that of Kimiko's.
That's a good, yeah, that's a good, point. I think that could be the case. Again, I feel like as great as Anthony Starr is and as great as he is with his character, I just feel like we need to kind of move on, like, because he was talking to the mirror last season and he, like I don't know. I mean, he's like he's the signature.
He's dealing with trauma.
Yeah,
He's dealing with inner
right.
demons just like everyone else is. I mean, Butcher is dealing with, seeing his dead wife
Yeah.
and possibly Kessler. There's a lot of parallels amongst these
Yeah.
individuals.
I mean, he's the signature character of the show, and like, it wouldn't be the same without him, but I would like to see like what's next, like where is this gonna go? Um I'm not bored by it, but I'm just kind of like, I feel like
We need to wrap it up.
we've traveled down this road. Like I feel like that's the
Yeah.
thing. And we diverted slightly, but then now we're back on the road and it just like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel new. It feels like the same thing, kind of just,
Mhm.
different coat of paint maybe or something, but it's very
So
similar.
with that being said, one thing I will die on that hill is that Antony Starr is the only person that could ever play Homelander. I've said as much already about other actors that feel so strongly about, but Antony's range of being able to be serious and then be like menacing and then just actually be funny too. Like he's got his moments, but in that final scene alone, the four different Homelanders that you're witnessing all at once is incredible. Like I said, the compassionate one, the super angry one, the logical one, and then this very weak, which is I'm going to say Homelander Prime, who's looking into his reflections, right? He's weak, that he's so needy,
Yeah.
and then he's pleading with them, "What do I do?" And I'm always amazed by his performance, and no matter what scene he's in, especially that scene that we talked about with the ice rink, when he realized that Huey was there, and he just turns almost feral.
Yeah.
And is like in hunting mode, and it's so incredible to watch this man be Homelander. Um, I love it. I love it.
Oh no, I mean he's awesome. Like it's definitely a very special performance, and he's definitely found this great character, and he's brought it to life. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it progress to whatever the next level is.
I think we're gonna get crazy Homelander in the coming episodes. I think there was a
Yeah,
trailer and he's like laughing maniacally, and I'm like, oh, we've lost some brain cells at this point. Like
yeah.
something has happened. Like he
Well,
is probably gonna go mad when he goes home, quote unquote.
yeah. I don't think he's that far away. I mean, given how he killed Annika, who was a character. She was in the first season. She's been in the show like here and there,
Yeah.
and she's brought in for questioning, and they kill her because like she's a quote unquote friend of Starlight. And I like how Annika's like, well, we've shared an almond joy a couple of times, like kind of a callback to the first season.
Yeah.
That was pretty shocking. Her
Yeah.
death was not that she's like a main character, but it's like, wow, you're gonna kill Todd and her in this first 3-episode run. They're gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, RIP to Annika. She was a sweet person. Truly don't know if she actually did give up some information to Starlight or whomever. And that's all thanks to Homelander for blasting his laser eye beams through her skull. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah.
Very, very sad.
One of the things I wanted to mention, because a couple of years ago I actually mentioned this. I was like, I would love if the boys had a Mortal Kombat style video game, and then they
They
busted
did
out
it.
season 4 VOT Tournament of Champions, and I'm not kidding. I would buy this game.
I
I
know
would
you
love to
would.
play this game.
I know you would.
I thought it was pretty creative about how Butcher's trying to connect with Ryan, and one way he connects with him is he plays the kid online in the video game, and they're playing together, but Butcher's just trying to talk to him. But I thought graphically it looked pretty great, honestly.
It was also graphic in nature. Like
Yes, very
just
graphic. Yeah.
how Lamplighter you the ways that he killed what's her face? Crimson what's her name?
Crimson. What is her name? Is it Crimson Dawn? No, is it Crimson?
Crimson Dawn. No.
What's
Whole
Crimson
other
Dawn?
franchise.
Crimson Dawn is Star Wars, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. That's the same. It's a whole other
Crimson
franchise.
Countess, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Soldier Boy's ex-girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah, that was incredibly graphic, like especially when he shoves his lamplighter shaft. There's no way of saying that without it sounding wrong. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Very graphic, but it is like movement for movement, similar to the Mortal Kombat video game. I think I read that somewhere, which was pretty cool. I was a huge fan of Mortal Kombat growing up back in the 90s on the Sega. So I thought that was fucking amazing.
And speaking of Mortal Kombat and the boys, Homelander is a playable character in the current Mortal Kombat game.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is fun.
I do like that tie-in. That's pretty cool stuff. Brittany, as we're kind of wrapping up here, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to mention? Any Easter eggs you want to point out? Or
you said it at the top of the show. It's really tough to break down these first 3 episodes of every new season. And I'm sure there's something that we've missed discussing. I'm sure there's several Easter eggs that I've overlooked. And, it might come up in future episodes that we're going to do weekly, hopefully with the other watchers here. So yeah, we're just going to have to kind of take this episode by episode and see the story develop. And that's kind of all there really is to it at this point. I'm very curious to see how the events of Gen V are actually going to play out in this episode of The Boys, because those kids are locked up in VOT. So I don't know how they may encounter these characters of VOT. They've already encountered Homelander.
Yeah, I think we've got to see those characters, and I think you're right. I love the show, and I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks when we're just talking about one episode, because we can really dig into it. We can really focus on the plot. Again, like you said, the 3 episodes it's kind of a monster. It's just a lot to to get through, and we do our best as we always do. But
Yeah,
it's a lot to
for
absorb.
sure.
But next week we'll be back to doing episode 4, so make sure you make plans to join us for that. So, but now you know what we think of the first 3 episodes. We want to know what you think. And Brittany, how can people let us know?
Hey, just like King B. Johnson did here in today's live chat, let us know your thoughts, your questions by joining our next live chat, which will be next Tuesday, talking about episode 4 of The Boys. So much. We appreciate you so much, King B. Johnson, for being here and sharing your thoughts. It's always fun to have you here. And once again, we encourage others to join the live chat as well. Let's get that conversation going. Also, if you're watching the replay, be sure to leave a comment down below, but also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are on the road, y'all, to 400 subscribers at time of recording. We're at 350. It's amazing. It's so great. Thank y'all so much for joining us and liking our content. Don't forget to like this video as well. It helps out our channel a lot, and hit that notification bell. That way, you know, once again, the next time we go live, which will be very soon because we are covering House of the Dragon, Interview with the Vampire, and of course, The Boys. We also will be doing more reviews leading up to the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. So it's very exciting.
Yep, that's right, Brittany. We have a lot coming up. So
we do.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.